Hey everyone, welcome back to the Audacity Podcast. This is Rachel here to introduce a very special episode we recorded a couple weeks ago while we were in San Diego. Heather, Haley, and I had the opportunity to sit down with our very first podcast guest, Bri Dietz. Bri is an old friend that's built an engaged online community around the topics of marriage, family, and motherhood. Among that community, she is admired for her authentic outlook and realistic, relatable content. We're so honored that she took the time to sit down with us for this episode where we discussed everything from her getting married at the tender age of 22 to her boundaries when it comes to featuring her children online. We're so thankful for her support of this new podcast and this adventure we're on. It's such a rarity to get to sit and spend time with someone who's so pure of character these days, so this was honestly very refreshing. I've linked her Instagram in the show notes right at the top, so if you want to go check out her Instagram, give her a follow and see if her content speaks to you. As with a lot of things in life, when you're trying to put your very best foot forward, technology was not on our side while we were recording this episode. Thank you so much to Bri, who was such a good sport and so patient with us while we had to troubleshoot basically the entire time we were recording this episode. That thank you is extended to you as well, listener. Thank you for giving us grace with our sound issues in this episode while we're still learning and getting better at this. Without further ado, here is episode 7 of the Audacity Podcast with special guest Bri Dietz. I hope you enjoy it and thanks for listening.
We're so excited, you guys. We are in San Diego. We are at the Lafayette Hotel. We're so grateful to be here. It's beautiful. If you get a chance, you need to get here ASAP.
Yeah, I pulled up today and I was stunned.
Yeah, the architecture, the details, like very vintage vibes, eclectic, but so beautiful.
They left no stone unturned.
Because they recently renovated it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
big budget.
Yeah, I think they were saying like last summer they finished and opened.
It's beautiful. I mean, there's like hand-painted tile on the ceiling and it just everywhere you look, there's something to like take note of and like look a little closer. It's really beautiful. So we're so grateful to be here. And we have Bri.
Yeah, this is a great morning for me, I gotta say. Real change of pace.
So, okay, Bri, let's like flashback really fast. Rachel and I went to school with Bri. We actually went to junior high together.
Yes.
And then went to separate high schools, but have kind of just followed each other.
Kept in touch. Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm like, so much has changed, but I also feel like I saw you last month. I don't know. Just life is nuts that way.
So she's local. You have 4 kids.
Yes. I live in Coronado with my 4 kids and my husband. Been down here for 15 years and I love it a lot, really.
So yeah, that's actually a great starting point. What made you guys come down and make the move?
Okay. So my husband and I met the first month of college. We were together all of college and we got engaged at the tender age of 21. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's so young.
Wow.
So, I mean, we could get into this, but the way we were raised, we were not encouraged by either of our families to live together before we got married.
Right.
So we were still very much under that influence. It worked out going into our senior year of college. And I was telling him, hey, I want to move in together. I need to get engaged because
that's how you do it. Yeah.
So he's like, okay. So we got engaged May of our junior year. Like, that is so.
Wait, so you were like engaged in college? That's so crazy.
Yes. And we really were college sweethearts.
Yeah.
And I think also while we worked, we were very not jealous at all.
Yeah.
Very, like, we had the same friends, did a lot individually. We checked in. We never got like, who are you with? He introduced me to my girlfriends that are still my friends, best friends down here, have since also moved down here 20 years later. So we had a healthy relationship in college for sure. And so we got engaged and his dream was to move down to San Diego. I'm like, okay, well, I've only been here one time. I'm like, well, I want to be with my mom. Like,
and you come, for people who don't know, like you come from a huge family. And I feel like I remember even in junior high, like without all of social media, without any, like everyone still knew that like Bri had sisters and a lot of them. And,
So
it was just like that's always been kind of like a staple is like your large family and like how important your family is to you.
So I think it was probably healthy actually that we moved away and I wasn't like in my mom's bed watching Oprah at 4:00. What happened is my parents briefly moved to Idaho at that exact same time. So it opened up a window. I think they were trying to save their marriage and it ended up not working out. But we came down here and it was a huge life change. It was his dream. And I'm like, okay, we came down here and the first 2 weeks I was like unpacking our Bed Bath & Beyond registry, and it was really fulfilling. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be like cooking, and this is so exciting. And then it was a huge adjustment because I'd gone from being the oldest sibling of 5 living amongst my family. And then I lived in a house in college with my 5 girlfriends. And then I'm just down here and I'm like, what am I doing? So it was an adjustment for sure.
Yeah.
But, very quickly I realized I love San Diego, and this is where we're going to call this home. And we're going to, I see why he loved it too.
Yeah.
And then honestly, slowly but surely, all of our college friends just started coming down. So it really worked out. But
okay, can I just ask you a question? So you got married so young.
yeah.
With one of your kids, daughters or sons, if they wanted to get married that young, would you encourage it? Or
it worked out for me. Even when I met Bobby, when we were 18, I went home and told my young life leader, like, I'm going to marry him. I don't know why I even thought that. He was like a hot mess. Like,
yeah.
So was I. I'm divine intervention or something. But because I'm like, why did I think that?
She had a premonition.
Yeah, I had a premonition. Like we were having fun, but like, no. I hope that I could trust them. I was no one was going to tell me anything. Like I was like, I thought I was the most evolved adult at 22, but looking back, I would say, when people are like, oh, you and Bobby, like look at you guys all these years later. Yes, we put the work in, and we have definitely a strong compatibility, but there's some luck that goes into 20 years later that you happen to grow in the same direction with somebody. Absolutely. And you just cannot predict that when you're 21 years old.
If you think back to being 21, I mean, social media and having like a healthier my relationships at a younger age were so much healthier than my relationships now.
Yeah. Because of the lack of social media?
I think it's the lack of options to meet for me.
Yeah.
Like I met Bobby, we were in love. Why not? Like, I do think that there is something about, okay, well, what about this? Yeah. What about this? I didn't have any of that. I mean, Facebook had just popped up. Facebook had just popped up. Yeah. But I wasn't, you didn't have access.
I remember hearing about Facebook, needing my college
email
address to even get, and I was like waiting.
So I was 1 year ahead of you. Yeah. So I had just got it.
I know we're really like dating ourselves.
I used my brothers to like stalk my boyfriend that was in college.
That's kind of smart, actually.
I was on it
early.
But yeah, so to your point, absolutely. Like it wasn't just let me pick up my phone and see what my options are.
Yeah. If you had Facebook back then, you weren't connecting with other colleges. You were connecting with your own. Yeah. So, and then also we all know that social media and the way that someone presents himself isn't always authentic or straightforward. So it's just none of that. You met somebody, you got to feel them out. Right. So back to the original question, I would hope I could trust my child and support them, but I would love if they didn't get married at 22, maybe a little bit longer. I also, though, I do think there is something with just growing with somebody and being young and not being set in your ways and figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I would say Bobby and I got married, like I had $340 and he had $150. So in a way it was simple.
Yeah. That's really nice. I mean, when I got married, I was 31. So it's almost 10 years later. Yeah. And I wouldn't even call it a marriage. It was an attempt at marriage because it lasted like 6 months. But just to circle back to like what you were saying about knowing yourself and growing together, it's like when I got married at 31, I realized now looking back that I didn't know myself at all or trust myself to make these kind of decisions. I got proposed to a few weeks after my mom died, and I was just like, yes, like this is a good thing. And if something like that would have happened now, I would be like, oh my God, no, like this is not the right time. I don't have perspective. And I think I knew all of that intrinsically, like within myself, but I didn't trust myself to make the right decisions. And I think that that's so important. And that's only something that comes with experience and age.
And I think the other thing that is really important and imperative is people always talk about love. Like, do you love this person? Is love enough? And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that love is enough.
Yeah.
And I think that like love and lust are great. Obviously, we know lust is fleeting. Love is not just a feeling. Love requires work.
Yeah.
But beyond the love, there needs to be so much more. And relationships require work. And to your point, Bri, about you guys have just been a little bit of luck, right?
Right. Like because we happen to grow in a similar direction. But what's interesting when I reflect back on us dating, I always wanted to date older and like kind of be starry-eyed
Yeah.
Bobby was my grade, which was like, you know, I wasn't like infatuated. No, he was just my best friend. Yeah. We had a lot of fun making out, and then we'd stay up till like 2 a.m. talking all the time, and I just wanted to keep talking to him. Like it wasn't the most infatuated I've ever been with some, or you know, again, my dating stopped at 18, so I don't have too much to draw from. But I was.
I'm like, lucky you, because dating at 36 is bad.
Left side of the room.
But it's not. He wasn't the most like that. I'd be like, oh my god, you know.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I remember telling him like, let's just be friends. And he said to me, he's like, but I have enough friends. He was like, so I was his first girlfriend. He played 0 games. He would just say exactly what he's thinking, and I would like try to play games, and he wouldn't even be like, why are you saying that? Do you want me to come over tonight or not? And I'm like,
yes, that.
Yes.
Like, what's your sign?
He's a Taurus.
Me too. I knew it immediately. I was like, this is just like me. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Come over. Yes or
no? Okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
How did you get started with your whole business and everything that you've been doing?
Okay, so I'm a mom influencer, if you want to say that, or content creator. I used to like be so embarrassed about saying that. Now I'm like, it is what it is, you know? But definitely did not ever see that coming when I first downloaded the Instagram app. And I think it's an outlier situation where I had my daughter in 2014. When she was born, I just naturally thought she was the cutest thing that had ever graced our earth. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to take pictures for every single day. And at the time I was working as a personal trainer, which I loved, but I wanted a hobby on the side. So I got like my first big camera from Costco, my DSLR, and I took photography classes. And there would be like mom communities on Instagram back then where you could, they put a hashtag and it would give you a prompt. So like mom hub at the beach. So I would take Elle to the beach and I would shoot her. And I started organically just building a following that way. Like just, I would follow a mom, she would follow me back. It felt very small and safe back then. And then I feel like a lot of people would be like, I just fell into it. I don't know. I mean, I definitely had a vision a few years into this. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I see there's potential here. Right. And I pushed for it. Like at some point I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like this. I just felt very like there could be something here, and started sharing regularly, posting regularly. And I love photography, and it just kind of felt really organic. Also, if you know my mom, like I feel like Lisa, my mom would have been like the original influencer in 1994.
I remember, this is so funny and so wild. People don't even understand the backstory, but I remember you like sharing your family photos and like her mom would literally dress them all up in like jean and go to like the mall like photographer on a Tuesday.
I love that.
And I remember seeing and I remember seeing these photographs. I don't even know how, because it was like, we're talking like junior high, but you just somehow
probably I brought them and shared them.
She's like cutting it out.
It was like Instagram of 1990. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, here you go. Hard copy around the school.
I love that.
It comes very naturally for me that way. But okay, so
thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm like, my mom would have been thriving in this era, but yeah. So then I was working as a personal trainer, and I loved it. It fulfilled my heart and soul, but it was not very financially. It wasn't making a lot of financial sense at the time, because you have a baby and you're paying for an hour by hour situation. It was kind of a wash, and we were trying to figure that out, because I mean, that's what I loved, and I wanted to work and contribute to the family. And this is like right around 2016 when things were changing. At the time, my husband was working with my brother, and they were doing great, their business. But out of nowhere, at the age of 25, my brother was diagnosed with like gnarly lymphoma, where he was going to be in the hospital for 8 months with chemo, and then he went on to do 2.5 more years of chemo. He's good now. But at the time,
a miracle.
Yeah, it is a miracle. And they just had a baby and like all this amazing stuff for him. And I'm so happy. But at the time, him and Bobby and my brother were working together, and Bri was half of that business, and business fell apart. Like my husband tried to carry it, but it was so rough. Bobby said, like, he was like, Bri, we didn't know even the word influencer barely then. Yeah. He's like, you should do Instagram. You should do this. And because I was getting little things, and I'm like, it definitely took taking a leap. Yeah. And I remember he helped me like make a media kit back then, when you're like, can you have a media kit? Like it's from 2018. Right? And it really was like the wild, wild west. No one knew what we were doing. Yeah. I will say there was so many wonderful like mom friends I made that we like would email each other like, what do you charge for this? Like no one knew, you know, like what do we even do?
It was really cutting edge. You guys are at the forefront of a whole new industry.
Completely, you know. And when I graduated college, the iPhone hadn't even come out yet. It came out that summer. So like who would have ever foreseen?
Yeah. Right. We were still living in like the Walgreens 24-hour turnaround.
Totally, right?
Like disposable waiting like 1 hour to see what happened on Saturday.
I will say though, I was the one in college who did have the first digital camera that was like huge, and I'd be like out like in Vegas with my girlfriends. I had it around my neck, like in my like little dress, like in heels. I was always like, and then when I would upload my Facebook albums with like 78 pictures, and I was like,
to the brim, full to the brim,
everything. Like you just told everyone the album.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, and I'm like, this is
all
art.
50 photographs.
Like, I am blessing my friends with last night's shenanigans. Yeah.
Oh my god. And then like the names of the albums
on
TikTok, and all I had to be like on theme.
Oh, and I thought it was like so much. I'd be like, I feel summer creeping in. Like summer when I still have. I like went back and looked at it. Like I'm like, oh.
I would love to look at mine.
I remember looking like a while back. And one was like, F is for freak.
Wow.
I like, and then there's just like study abroad in Florence.
F is for Florence. And
F is for freak.
Like, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know.
She was feeling it though. It was right at the time.
It must have been.
You would be like, oh, I'm a poet. Like, like enjoy.
And this was like the Tumblr era, so we thought that everything that we did was like art worth the internet. We're like, oh, this is sick.
Look at what I created.
Yeah.
I mean, and then now we like create something that's actually cool, and we're like, oh, we can't post that.
Oh my gosh,
can't do that. Like, oh no,
delete.
Like for a second, you sent it to all your friends. You're like, what are people gonna think of me if I do this? Like, that's something actually a question.
I've let go of that. No, I post pretty embarrassing things. Like, I think it's so funny.
Yeah,
if I post everything I post is authentic to me for sure.
Yeah,
but I've linked it's hysterical, and it is not cool.
Yeah,
it's not cool, but it's. I think it's great. So
I think that is why you have built the community that you have built, and why people are drawn to you, because for that reason, everyone is chasing authenticity.
Yeah.
But I think that you truly are just like, this is what I'm doing, and this is what happened, and this is what Elle did today, and this is what Goldie did today. And guess what? I'm not cool, but by doing that and by just showing all of the parts and all of the things, like, it's so relatable, and it really is, Bri, like, it's a breath of fresh air. And I think that is why that's why you found so much success.
Thank you. And I think I probably wouldn't have stuck with it this long if it wasn't real. I've had to like find balance with sharing though, for sure. Cause I am just like, well, and then I'm like, okay, now I don't need to disclose everything.
Yeah, like edit it back a little bit.
And not myself, right?
Yeah,
like, I'm always going to be who I am. I'm always going to be who I am. But I don't mean it's like, I just kind of am trying to find balance there. And I've realized over the last year, like a lot of the creators I admire most are so real, and they produce such beautiful art, but it doesn't always have to be like a shocking thing or something that's like a clickbait, you know, like
it's mundane.
Yeah.
It's
for sure.
This is me living.
It's natural to watch.
I followed this girl on TikTok who, for like an entire summer, all she posted was vlogs of like her going on a walk with her mom. And it's like, it's so predictable. They go on the same walk every day. They go and get the same coffee, and then they walk back home. But it's like this beautiful scenery in Santa Barbara or in Montecito. And you're just like, you feel like you're on the walk with them, and you're like, oh, I just took a walk, and now I have peace. Like, and it's even like the mundane things. There's an audience for everything, which I think is interesting.
I'm also trying to navigate too as my kids have gotten older, for sure.
Yeah,
because they do things sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I would love to even like get input from, but I need to protect them first, you know.
Yeah.
So I like especially. I mean, Elle loves it. Like, she's so drawn to it. She's like, put this on, Mom. I want to, you know, but I will protect her first, you know, at this point. So it's kind of a fine line. Like with a baby and toddler, I have no problem being like, she's not sleeping or, you know, like their stuff. But so that's been a navigation too, because in the beginning it felt so small and safe. And no one even thought like about any of this, you know, and digital footprint. But so that's kind of been something to navigate too. But I will say, as a family, overall, we do enjoy it. Like, it's collectively not a burden.
Yeah,
you know,
it's fun for everyone.
It's fun for everyone.
That's good.
It's been positive overall.
Can I ask, like, how would you maybe reconsider if at any point it became not fun for anyone? Like, for some reason, I'm thinking of, like, now the Kardashians and how Mason has decided now that he has his own agency to remove himself from the show.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of wonder now, as, you know, obviously you're at the forefront of it, and it's been such a short time since people have been putting their kids on the internet. And as they get older, if they ask you to...
I would 100% not let them do it.
Yeah.
So I definitely have shifted. I think at the beginning it felt self-centered. Remember when it was like the selfie was like...
Yeah, no, it was all
so
about
in the
me.
beginning it felt for me self-centered.
Yeah.
To talk about myself more. I like almost felt like showing my kids was like humble. Like it was, you know.
Right.
And
this is not about me.
Yes, totally. And it is about me more now. I'm talking about myself way more. But if they ever didn't want to do it, I 100%, in 1 second, done.
Yeah.
I was telling Heather though earlier, they asked me like, Mom, do we have any campaigns coming up? Because I pay them. They get to decide if they do it.
Yeah.
And then they get paid and compensated, and then they get money put away for when they're older. So even Harrison, who isn't really like a personality that loves to be on the camera, could be like, do we have any campaigns coming up? Because you know, like, I want to go to Target, and you know, like that. So I'm like, and it takes them 3 seconds to, you know.
I feel like it's almost maybe even like the equivalent of being a child actor, but it's like you're not on set, you're just at home.
Oh, and it's
in a
1
second.
second.
Yeah. It's not like a huge deal,
but it is something to think about. It's a whole
It's
new world, right? It's like a whole new. I do think that I bet there's going to be laws put in place though that do protect the kids more, because
there already are. There's actually like court cases popping up all the time where kids who are now adults, like once they turn 18, they'll like sue their parents for anything from like, you posted this picture and I was young without a diaper, like, I mean, crazy things. That's crazy.
Or all like the monetary gain that the parents are making. I will say we like attempted a family vlog for 1 second, like 2016, not to talk negatively. If that works for another family, that's fine. But I was like, oh, no. There's no emptying the camera in my kid's face this many hours a day. Like you have to do what feels right for you. But I do think that there are some kids that like have been on so exposed, you know, like,
well, and I think the goal is everyone's like Ryan's World and like JoJo Siwa, and they see that, or like, and they're just like, oh my gosh, like I could have my line in Target and I can be, you know, generate $48 million a year, and so I'm just gonna like put my kids out there,
and that's really like, you know, obviously so rare that so rare, you know, takes off. But I like my little corner of the internet, and the community I have is incredible. Obviously, sometimes things go like viral or outside of your control. I usually never get negative comment about my child though. That's good. It's really, again, like the content isn't necessarily centered around them anymore. If I'm very protective of all that.
Okay, I have a question. Just to like get back to what we were originally talking about. So you've been with your husband now for 20 years?
Yeah, 19 years.
19 years. So how do you guys keep the love alive? Like, what do you guys do?
There's definitely ebbs and flows, you know, for sure. We just went to Miraval. Have you ever heard of Miraval? It's like this incredible, you should go if you ever could. It's like in Tucson. And of course, while you're there, oh my gosh, like if we were just vacationing together all the time, everything would be incredible, because we're talking, we're intimate, we're connected, you know. So when you come back from something like that, your tank is so filled, but that's just not the reality of life. And like, you know, the kids and our schedules, but we really try to have a date night, you know, pretty consistently. We enjoy being intimate together, so we make that a priority. Like our kids sleep in our room all the time, but we still like, they get them out of there and we work it out for ourselves. Like, or we live in a small house with all these kids, you know, but we and make it work. But we like want to talk with him. Like I feel like we talk, you know, like we make time to talk to each other, like him and I, and connect and laugh and joke and kid with each other, and like that's like a connective space for us, you know. But I don't think I have like an exact play-by-play of what we've done all these years to stay connected. I do think you're in a spot with your spouse where you trust them, and you can choose to see the best in your partner when they give you reason to, you know? So if you are,
that's a great
that carries us through, because there are times when I'm like, I don't like conflict, but there are times when you need to bring up something. But for the most part, you know, I'm like, this hurt me, this bugged me, I didn't like that. But for the most part, I feel like what I would say what has carried us through this 20 years is trusting each other, knowing each other, intentions for each other is so good that I can choose to see the best in him in times when it's iffy. You know? Whether it's like, okay, you left your freaking beard shavings in the stuffing bin, I'm gonna kill you. Okay, probably you weren't thinking about it, you know? Or something bigger. Like, so I think having choosing to see the best in your partner carries it pretty far for us. You know,
ex-husband used to leave the toilet seat up, and I would like go to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and fall into the toilet.
Yeah.
And
that stuff.
Like, I mean, it's freaking aggravating, you know, like, and living with anybody and having a partnership with anybody is aggravating, you know, but you have to be in a space though where you are able to see the best in your partner.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a choice. It's like what we were talking about earlier. Every day you have to, again, love is not enough. You have to choose this person.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional with like that. I'm choosing you.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, could you like pinpoint why you got divorced? Because they're like, could you give me like a 1-sentence takeaway on what? Like,
You know what's weird?
I'm going to take the mic.
I'm genuinely curious.
In my marriage, it's so weird because we were really, really happy, or in our relationship, we were really, really happy until we weren't.
Okay.
And
they'll.
Yeah, and I don't want to get like say too much. I mean, he talks about it on the internet, but he's dealt with a lot of personal family issues, and around the time of like us getting married, he was starting to do a lot of really intense therapy, and as someone who was immature, I did not know how to handle it.
Okay.
I did not know how to be supportive for someone that was going through such crazy moments. Like I remember being on our honeymoon and like getting there, and like the first day there, he was just like, we're laying in bed and he was just like crying about something that happened in his childhood, and I was just like, holy fuck, what am I doing? Like I did not have the capacity to be with someone who was going through such devastating emotional trials in their life.
I feel like that's amazing that you couldn't even have the self-realization though.
Oh yeah, I look back at it and I was like, I was not an equipped person. Like I will say I'm a very immature 36-year-old as far as just everything in life. Like I think I've been very preoccupied with self for a very long time, for some good reasons, but also for some just like narcissistic reasons or whatever. But yeah, I think that played a big part in it, that he was going through something, and might still be, I don't know, and has been maybe for his entire life, going through something very, very dark, and I didn't know how to handle it. And I think that is absolutely probably one of the reasons why our relationship died, is just like a disconnect there. On an emotional level of me being like, okay, like I cannot handle this.
An emotional disconnect is like that's if you're not like so aligned that you can. I think that's like the first year.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's not ideal, but I think that there is something good about letting someone go when you know it's not the right thing, because you give each other the chance at happiness.
Yeah.
And instead of holding each other prisoner in like a dark space, like, sure, could we have worked it out? Absolutely. When we broke up in therapy, we were laughing and smiling, and our therapist was like, you guys, this is crazy. Like, you could work through this. And we're like, yeah, but we don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, we literally don't want to. Like, why are we going to trap each other in this?
Yeah.
Like, we,
like that's so
you know? I mean, it was evolved, and then it got nasty because I got weird and like whatever. I don't know. It just got weird after that, and like so we don't talk now. But I think that it's a good thing to let someone go when you know it's not the right thing. And when you both know it's not the right thing, it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any kids. We had nothing like that's of consequence, so it was an easy out, I would say.
When you break up, and I hope that you both can be better in your next relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And like I just now feel like I'm in a place where I could be emotionally connected to another person. Like I had a lot of shit to work through, a lot of mistakes to make. Like I know that, you know, I've had men in the past few years that I didn't treat well. But like I think it's because I knew that I wasn't ready for something. So I was looking for someone who I knew it wasn't the one.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't ready to be with the one again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where I was at. I know Haley went through really.
Yeah, my story is kind of weird because it's kind of like your story and your story kind
combined.
Because I met my ex-husband when I was 18.
Okay.
Kind of similar time frame as you, like beginning of college. And we were together for years. And so he was a pilot in the Navy.
Okay.
He went through multiple deployments and definitely dealt with some depression, but he was kind of similar. Like he wasn't good at expressing any kind of emotion. So getting anything out of him was like pulling teeth. Like it was so difficult to know what was wrong, to the point where I started to like, the depression was like coming to me, and I was getting depressed, and like I wouldn't want to come home. Like I would come home from work and like we wouldn't talk. And like there would be no hi. Like it was like the weirdest, most uncomfortable thing. And I started to feel so taken for granted. Like even when we would go out with friends, we would walk into a place and just like it was
like a stranger.
Yeah. Like, but it's like we were so comfortable with each other that like it was just the normal. And like, I mean, I definitely know like going into ruts and coming out of them, like, because we did do that. But it was just different. And I started having this moment of like, okay, like you're 31, you're 32. Like it took me years to make the move that I made. Like I was like, every birthday I was like, you're not getting younger. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah. Like I had to like actually finally just be like, I went crazy. I was like, I can't do this. Like, and that's ultimately what, I mean, we just had to separate and like, that's kind of how it started.
And how long were you guys together when you divorced?
Like 15 years.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So
it's a really long time.
And we're still like, don't get me wrong, he's like the best human ever. Like honestly dating now, I like look back and I'm like,
I know he's still so active in your life too, as like a person who is there when you need
like
any kind of support. Yeah,
which
like
is
he's
beautiful.
there.
I think what you guys went through is a lot, and that was a lot. But the way that you guys have come out of it, and the way that he seems to on the peripheral support you, and where you guys are at, despite everything, is.
Yeah.
You're very lucky.
I mean, even just like as an example, we were laying in bed like a couple months ago and he messages her and he's like, hey, I know I renewed my car registration this year, but I don't remember doing yours. Like, and then he's like, hey, like, have you registered your car again this year?
Okay,
like,
what I will say though is his love.
He's on top of it.
Where we kind of disconnected a little bit, and I like don't want to sound so like foo-foo about this, but like the love languages, like I'm so like affection, and he's not. He's all about like acts of service.
Okay, I'm an acts of service girl.
So that's him.
So I'm like, even you say now, like, oh, I was like, ooh.
That's the thing. Like
I love like
taking care.
Taking care. Like please do the registration and fill my car up fast. I'm like, ooh, you know, like
meet me.
That's just funny. How that is, you know. We're like,
it's so true though. It's crazy.
Like touch is good, but no, please don't be
Well, because where you put your time is like what matters. I'm very much acts of service, and
but I can't control it. I just love a little affection.
Me who doesn't, right? Like, come over and give me a little back rub. Like, let's see where this goes.
Should we get into the advice portion of this podcast?
Let's do it.
I have an advice question about relationships today.
Love it.
Okay, so my boyfriend and I have been together for 10 years and he hasn't proposed. We've talked about it a lot and he always says in the future, but not now. I'm not getting any younger and want to move forward with my life, but I'm scared to start all over. What should I do?
Whew.
I feel like that's such a common thing that happens to a lot of women.
And more so today than ever.
Yeah. I think a lot has to do with financial though, too.
Well, I think financial, but also I think we're seeing that way more now. And to get back to what we were talking about earlier, like, let me just pick up the phone and see my other options.
Yeah.
Like, what else is out there?
About 10 years.
10 years is
well,
a long time to be in a
relationship.
You're done. You had shit to get off the pot. This is what I do know. From every man that I've spoken to about this, Rachel, we have Rachel and I have a lot of mutual guy friends, like high school, whatever. Some are married, some aren't. And most men will say that they know. Yeah. And it's like when you see the guy or the girl, more times than not, it's the guy who's in a relationship for 5 or 6 years. The girl's like, why can't you get married? And I'm just not ready. And then the next girl they meet, they're engaged in 8 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, sweetheart, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. 10 years is too long.
Yeah. 10 years is a little too. I feel like within 10 years, you can go through so many different phases of life.
Yeah.
And then for it to not ultimately end in the place where you want it to be, and you're not seeing like a time frame, like I think it's well within our, I don't want to say our rights, but I think we should have a time frame. And it's like, hey, in our relationship, this is the kind of commitment I'm looking for. Either you're going to say yes or you're going to say no. But like asking for a time frame, I don't think is asking too much.
Why are you going to waste 10 years too of someone's time? If you're not going to do it.
Also, I would like to hear say like, I don't know what to do. He's the love of my life. No, I'm afraid. I wouldn't say something because you're afraid, right? That would have been like made me think twice about it. But from that, I would say it's time to exit the relationship.
Yeah, I think women's fertility plays a big role in it. And I have noticed something, like if you're over 35 and you've had a kid, no one is going to think twice if you're like trying for your second kid over 35, right? But if you're over 35 and you haven't proven to the world that you're capable of having children, people are like, you're over 35? Like, But if you're over 35 and you already have kids and you're like, we're trying for another one, you're like, yeah, right. Get in there, get into the bedroom. You have to prove to society by the age of 35 that you are capable of having children. Otherwise, it's like, yikes, are you okay? Are you physically okay? Like, what's wrong with you? Something must be wrong with you. I don't know if it's like social media or fertility companies wanting you to think that you are barren and need to come pay them if it's not happening instantly over the age of 35. Like, the messaging around it has completely changed. And because of that, I think that women are feeling a lot of a lot of pressure to get in there. And like, if they have a man and they've been together for X number of years and it's looking like this, it's like, okay, come in and impregnate me because that's what I want. That's what I need. And society is telling me that if I do not do it today, something's wrong with me.
Well, and I think people are really, they're planning their whole lives, even when they have a life partner or a spouse, or they're planning on getting married. They're literally like planning their lives around when they're going to start trying to have kids.
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing.
And so I think that this person who wrote in is probably feeling that pressure.
Yeah.
And is holding on to your part, like to your point, holding on to the potential of this. Like, okay, this is going to be the one, but here you are sitting 10 years later, sweetheart, like if that's what you're holding on to and that's your reasoning and like you're like, this is going to be it and this is going to be my future, like, I hate to say it, but not likely.
Yeah. Also, I just feel like if you're in your late 20s or early 30s, which I'm assuming if she's been with this guy for 10 years, it must be that age, there's nothing wrong with throwing the towel on something and trying something new. And
at any age,
because even if, like, let's say you're single for 6 months, a year, whatever, however long it takes you or however long you feel compelled to stay single, you learn so much, you develop so much as a person, you recalibrate with who you are, like who you are as a person. Like, obviously I'm speaking for myself and like what I've gone through over like the past 5 years of being single. Like, I've completely recalibrated with who I am and what it means to be me in the world. And, you know, if you're with someone and you don't see the future panning out the way you want it to, it is okay to take 3 steps back and figure out what you want and find someone who wants the same things as you.
Absolutely.
Menopause is not knocking on the door unless for whatever reason.
And here's the thing, even if you're at a point in your life where menopause is knocking at the door, there are so many other options out there.
Yeah, 100%. You're totally right. You are totally right. Like, family planning,
we are so
so
lucky for modern medicine.
Yeah, it's so vast.
There are so many options, and but to get back to her question, I really think that more times than not, sweetheart, at some point in that 10 years, like, there's a reason why you guys aren't.
Well, and it's
married.
easy to lose your identity when you're in a relationship that long, where you don't even know who you are anymore. So I think it's almost healthier to take a step back.
Yeah. I think an ultimatum is healthy sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, like, here are the things I want. If you're not aligned with that, then that's okay. But, you know, I'm going to have to
go. It's been a decade. Let's go.
And I don't even see that as an ultimatum, really. I just see it as, like, what I need for myself. And if we both love each other and we both care about each other enough to still be in this relationship 10 years later, you're going to respect that, like, this is what I want for myself. I want to grow with you. I want to continue this life with you. However, if that's not where you're at, I'm okay. Let's be okay not being okay with each other. Yeah. And like let's do what works for us.
Yeah.
To your point, again, you make such a great point when she says fear. Like, we so often operate from a place of fear.
Yeah.
From a place of the unknown.
Yeah.
Unfamiliar. I'm scared to do this. I'm scared to make this shift. And it can be really debilitating.
Yeah. I know it could be so much better too. You don't know you're limiting yourself. Yeah. Your potential.
Should we get into our top 8?
Let's do it.
Okay. The first on the top 8 today is the Maison Louis Marie No. 4 perfume. I'm obsessed with it, and also it's all over Haley's house. It's so random. The first time I walked into your new place, I was like, "Oh, I wear this all the time," and it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's such a good smell.
It's sandal.
Yeah, it's really good. I love that.
Okay, mine. Well, on the Santal train, I guess I'll just stay there. The Luxe Unfiltered Self Tanner. It's it doesn't smell like gross self tanner. It has a Santal undertone. Okay. So
wow,
that's my new jam.
That's so key.
It's on Subscribe on Amazon.
Do
that's
you
how much I like it.
See it right away, or does it
develop?
Okay.
It's a gradual. It's not like a tanner. It's a lotion that
Okay.
Remember the Jergens?
Yes.
It's the improved, nice Jergens.
Wow. Okay, that's when you're really taking it back.
I'll show you. I have it right here.
Yeah. Okay. Mine is the Forget the Filler, the Lawless lip gloss. It's my number 1 recommendation, and I get the most swipe ups on this. But it's not swipe up anymore.
Yeah,
yes, it's so good. It plumps. And it's natural and it's beautiful, and it's a great one.
What color do you wear?
This is velvet, but I like the Daisy Pink. I like all of them. They're kind of almost a tint.
Yeah, got it. So it's not
matte
intense. Yeah,
it's just really great, really great.
And she's San Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I actually have my physical product because we just love to hear ourselves talk. And dry mouth is a byproduct of that sometimes. I found these little mints. They're called Flint mints. And I understand that on social media, they are kind of marketed as how do I say this? A sexual thing.
Yeah.
But they really are the science behind them. If you look at their website, what people are putting out there is really just for dry mouth.
Yeah.
And I will pop one in. I literally got them for the podcast because we'll sit here for an hour and a half to talk.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're great.
Can I try one?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're actually really good too.
My next is actually vintage porno magazines. So me and Haley were looking at a vintage penthouse last night, and
here.
Yeah, we have one with us as a prop for later.
Okay. Exclusively.
Yeah, but we always have a penthouse in our bag. No, but the ladies are just full throttle natural back then, in the 80s and early 90s, and it's
you have to look through it.
God bless, because now I feel the insecurity that has come with I have to have everything perfectly lined up at all points, and no one can see me unless I'm perfect, and they're just out there full on
living.
There's a lot of nature happening in there.
A lot of nature happening. That's so good.
I wish we could go back to that. I highly suggest if you want to. It's almost anthropologic, to look at it. It's a history lesson.
Yeah, truly. Anyways, okay, so mine is gonna be the Lafayette Hotel, and all the people who work here, because they have been so cool, so sweet,
accommodating.
The guy downstairs this morning with the coffee, it was just so fun.
Yeah, it's adult Disneyland.
It was
really good.
Upon walking, I kind of was thrilled, and I tried. I don't know how I haven't experienced it.
It's an experience.
It's
it really
experience.
is. Yeah,
it made me so happy. And the light. Yeah,
yes.
I agree.
And morning or night.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one's gonna go off. You inspired me with Icon Native. Okay, it's It's Complicated with Meryl Streep, Steve Martin, Al Baldwin. It is such a hot honey. It's so funny, and when he's you've gone native.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mommy, I watched it 3 days ago and laughed out loud. So
I watch the movie every time I'm on an airplane and it's a long flight.
It's hysterical. It's on Netflix right now. It's easy. It just came on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's the same director as The Holiday, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
she's iconic. And all her movies, she always does a really beautiful scene of a home.
Okay, because Meryl's home is amazing. The music is amazing. The kitchen's amazing. The food.
It's so good.
Okay, that's a good one. So my last one is this company. It's called Ink Bond, and you can send in a photograph, and they will make a tattoo literally in 48 hours. I had it. I ordered them. You can send a picture, and they'll make a tattoo of whatever picture you send. So you can we could send in the three of us. That's what I did. Picture of the three of us, and we could have tattoos of ourselves. Temporary tattoos.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So you can do. I mean, if you for a bachelorette party or a wedding or a birthday, you can put your kid's face on it, and everyone has temporary tattoos. It was so cool. It was such a good experience. Their customer service was great. It just Ink Bond.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do that.
I need to get on that.
Those are good.
Yeah. Well, Bri, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This was so fun.
This was great. A great morning for me.
Like a little therapy session.
Do this. Invite me anytime, please.
I know.
I'll follow you guys around, actually.
I know. This was so fun. Well, listeners, thank you so much for joining us again. And have a good day. I don't know. We need to figure out our sign off. I do this every week.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Okay, here we go.
Bye.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.